Oh yeah, if you're watching these videos on the early access bit, then you'll probably know that right now we're in the middle of having like, ow, AI discourse about this game. Oh! That startled me. I think AI is bad and don't want people to use generative AI in art. So I'm not psyched that it's in this game, but I actually knew there was AI in this game at some point before I played it. Because I thought we all knew that? And the game was just really popular anyway, and I figured people were just over it and accepted the reasoning that was provided for it. Anyway, apparently the second wave, I guess people didn't all know about this when it came out, but yeah, when the game came out, there was a lamppost in the game that had newspapers stuck to it, and you could tell by the fucked up text on them that the newspapers were generative AI. And they were like, oh fuck, that was a placeholder or whatever. And then they removed it when people called it out. Was it a placeholder? I don't know. My personal take is that I wouldn't be surprised if it's just one dude put it in there. I don't like AI, but I also have some level of nuance of just being like, it's not necessarily entirely reasonable to say that something is like persona non grata just for having one AI art asset somewhere in the game anywhere. I think it's bad to do it, and I don't want them, and I think they shouldn't put stuff like that in the game at all. So I'd prefer if they didn't. And you can see the consequences of it a bit. They just got disqualified for the like indie game of the year award or whatever the fuck. Like not the Game Awards, but some other award. I don't even know what it is honestly, but it's hitting the headlines right now. Because that you get banned if you use any generative AI whatsoever in your development. But I think this game is pretty obviously handcrafted and like lovingly made by real artists overall. The reason why I have some level of nuance here is, one, based on how long this game was probably in development, it's probably from an older, shittier version of AI back when discourse wasn't really starting necessarily. I remember when so many people were fucking around with DALL-E, which most people don't even remember anymore. Now people think of like Mid-Journey or whatever the fuck, and all these other ones that are much more thefty and discoursed to hell and are bad, and I don't like them. But I do remember just hanging out in people's, like in a living room with a bunch of people that were all hanging out for a tabletop night, and everybody was just kind of fucking around with like those like, type the words in this thing and see what the stupid bot spits out, and you get like a weird fucked up nightmare image where you're like, it looks like a dog made of breasts or something. Like you're just like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like it's just body horror would come out the other end because the generative AI was so bad, and people were just poking at it as a curiosity, and there was no like moral judgment tied to it. Some of the stuff's old enough and shitty enough that like it kind of predates when the discourse even started. I still think it's bad to have in games because you should just make things, and if it's a placeholder asset, you should just have a placeholder asset. That's the point. Placeholder assets are meant to stand out and look like shit because then you know you have to fix them. I always think about when you play like various source engine games and their mods, and sucresso, it's made of sugar. You play all these source engine modded games, like in Gary's mod or whatever the fuck, and if you didn't have the right games installed to show that you had a missing asset and you needed to fix that, you just had like the brightest orange textured walls or like floating exclamation points and stuff, because they're meant to announce this thing isn't finished or this thing's missing or this thing needs to be added later. Like that's how you do a lot of game development, I think, is you have a thing that looks fucked up so you know to replace it later. I actually don't think that a lot of the generative AI stuff that's being discovered in games, that's like a one-off. Like there are games that just embrace generative AI, and those are a lost cause. But there are games where there's like one AI asset that gets caught, and then people are like, "Oh, that was a placeholder." I don't think that's true. I think they're lying. I think they're trying to cover their ass / giving what sounds like a surface level excusable reason that they might be able to get away with, as they then shit themselves because they probably just didn't know it was there. Because more realistically, the reason, and this is the nuanced take I have for all this shit that I keep trying to build to and being really inefficient at, games are made by dozens of people, and at any point some asshole can just slip something in and fuck with the whole thing. Like any creative process can have a piece of shit that does something shitty, and then everyone kind of just takes the fall for it, and it sucks to varying degrees. I even think about like how like Baby Driver, one of Edgar Wright's movies. It's a cool movie. Kevin Spacey's in it. Oh. Well, they didn't know Kevin Spacey was like that. They didn't know the news that was going to come out about Kevin Spacey like that year, right after the movie came out. Fuck. Okay, well, Baby Driver's less fun to watch now. Everyone put a lot of work into that movie. It's different levels of extremity, obviously, but talking about like sexual assault via an individual actor versus like these unethical practices and stuff. But I mean, I'm saying that like you have big collaborative processes made by dozens or hundreds of people, and then one guy might slip in a thing that sucks. And I think the best you can do is just not throw in professionally, you don't want to throw anyone on the bus, and you just want to get the thing out as fast as possible, replace the thing, and try to just move on with your lives, which is what they did. They replaced that asset like immediately in a patch, and it wasn't even a substantial asset, so it's like it's not like they needed it to be AI. It just shouldn't have been. They just got some newspapers and put actual newspapers on the thing and or whatever. Like they made a quick thing, like they always could have, and replaced the thing and then moved on. But this was a big hubbub at the time, and people that are purists about this and are anti-all AI did make a big deal about this when Clair Obscur first came out, because it launched with that asset in the game and people were mad, and that's why they fixed it. It's weird being like 6 months later or however late it is now, or a year later, I don't know how long the game came out anymore, and have it come back. But the real thing that's happening now is that Clair Obscur won every fucking award at the Game Awards. Like it was like that year that Return of the King came out and it won every Oscar, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, this one movie. Clair Obscur won like every single Game Award practically that it was available. I think it was like 7 or 9 awards. It was just, apparently it's just a thing. It's a thing where a backlash formed in real time against this game. People got mad at this game just for winning awards, like just immediately. Because it went from being the underdog to being, fuck that game, it's got all the awards, my game should get awards, I hate this game, this pretentious French RPG thing, it's stupid. And so all the people that weren't paying attention to it are mad at it. And now they're just kind of like they're trying to just dig up as much dirt as they can. And so now this became discourse again, even though it was already addressed ages ago and people were presumably over it. And I don't know, make up your own mind. Some people are over it forever. And some people find out now and they're like, oh God, my entire experience is soiled, I can never trust this game. I will say that it's definitely a good reason to never have AI in your game, because people will be mad at it no matter what on some level. But also, there are some people that look at the game now and they're like, are those environments AI? Is that dialogue AI? And I'm like, obviously not. Obviously not. They literally had Charlie Cox and other like actors. Like, it's really well acted. You know it's not AI dialogue and AI cutscenes. But people are dumb and not that media literate, and will just start suspecting all of it of being AI because any of it was AI. And that's a lesson to learn. And I think the dumbness of people in that context actually works in our favor, because it does pressure towards the good outcome, which is never, ever, ever use any AI ever. You will burn your entire team. The people you work with for years will be mad at you because you used AI on the thing. So don't use it. That's my stance. I do have like a relatively hardline stance against AI and do not like it in anything, but I also like don't burn people at the stake over it, because just I'm an adult in his mid-30s, and I've experienced real life enough to know that just sometimes just shit happens, and you just like, there's some level of forgiveness involved or understanding the context. And at my semi-imagined context is that I do think that just someone slipped in an AI asset and the team didn't know of people surrounding them, and they could have easily just made it. And that one guy has got them so much negative press probably. And that's probably the overall situation. It reminds me so much of H. Bomber Guy's video about all those plagiarists, and in particular the specific part about AVGN and how that one guy plagiarized the scripts for the Monster Madness Halloween event thing. I know I'm just offhand referencing somebody's fucking YouTube video out of nowhere, but it is a monstrously popular video. So you've probably seen the plagiarism video. It's a reasonable reference. It's like it's in YouTube terms, it's like referencing The Matrix. It's significantly popular. But in that bit, there's very similar stuff going on where they make public excuses for what happened because they don't want to throw the guy under the bus that they know did it. Like, AVGN crew knew who plagiarized, and they did address the problem behind the scenes, and they worked on it, and they did not like it. They didn't tolerate it. They dealt with it. But their public statement does not match the reality of what they knew about the situation. And so that's what I think when these developers like Alters and Clair Obscure and other people say, oh yeah, that one asset, that was a placeholder, that was AI. I don't think it was a placeholder. People saying, that placeholder is supposed to be this way or that way. Why would you, stupid? Just make an actual placeholder then. I don't think they're placeholders. I think just some asshole put the thing in the game and then they have to make a public excuse, and that's the one that seems to work, kind of. And so they make that public excuse when they're doing damage control because it's PR. You have to do PR for public-facing stuff. That's my explanation for a lot of that stuff. I don't think it's even that bad that they lie about that. It's just running a company and not serving up an individual to be Twitter mobbed and harassed and doxxed by the internet and so on. Like, yeah, you make a PR statement that somewhat obscures the office politics behind the discovery, and then you take disciplinary actions or corrective actions or so on behind the scenes as best you can, because that's what running a company is you don't serve up your individual employees and throw them don't throw them under the bus. You usually just play these, yeah, but I was worried that if I clicked on this it might be a scene. Anyway, that's this episode. That's the AI rant. I don't like AI and things, but, you know, all that is probably what happened. I think it's fine, and I also think it's totally fine that they lost the award. It's a little silly they were nominated in the first place because we knew about this controversy, once again, months ago, before they were nominated. This is public information, so it's weird that they didn't account for that at the time. But I think that, I think having the awards be that black and white and that punishing is good, because one, it's a fucking game award. It doesn't matter. It might generate some positive news, some positive buzz, and sell some more copies of a game, but other than that, like, it's not, game awards don't really matter overall. So it's a pretty low consequence punishment, but it does send the message of fuck you, don't use any Gen AI at all, or your game will be disqualified no matter what. No excuses. I think that's a great chance to have a hardline stance because it's so low consequence, but does send the message pretty loudly. And sometimes it's when the consequences are the lowest that the loudest message makes sense, because it's just, you get to send a loud message without actually like harming people. I just think about a lot about how like Twitter is often a place where people just harm people for their entertainment and they call it justice, but it's actually just people being harmful because it's entertaining to them. So it's just important not to go there as a person just because you call it justice.